Hello and welcome to Power System Analysis 2. Today in this class I'll be taking on module 1.2. Okay. Now in this class I'll be talking about the power system matrix that is being formed from the bus system we have talked about in the previous class. We have seen how the bus matrix is formed, the bus impedance matrix and bus admittance matrices. Now this in the bus admittance and impedance matrix, we'll be talking about the admittance matrix, and the reason why we choose the admittance matrix is that I have discussed in the previous class. Now in this class we'll be talking about the different elements in the admittance matrix and how the admittance matrix is formulated. Now naming the admittances, in the admittance matrix we will come across two types of admittance matrix. The admittance matrix with the form of capital YII, where I can take any number from 1 to n, is called the self-admittance or driving point admittance of the node I and is equal to the algebraic sum of all admittances terminating on the node. So we have let's say we have 5 bus systems, so the I will vary from 1 to 5. So you will have Y11, Y22, Y33, Y44 and Y55. These YII form of the admittance element is called the self admittance, and it is the sum of all the admittance connected to that particular bus. For example, let us say that we are considering bus 2. So we have the self admittance for bus 2 as Y22, and it is the sum of all admittances that is connected to bus 2. There is another type of admittance which we call as the off diagonal admittance of the form capital YIK, where both I and k will take different values of different numbers to the maximum of the number of buses present in the system. But I and k cannot be equal. Why they cannot be equal? If they are equal, then they become the self admittance. But we are talking about off diagonal admittance where I and k are not equal. For example, admittance like Y12, admittance like Y34, Y43, Y15. So these kinds of admittances are the admittances which are not the self admittance, but they are called the mutual or transfer admittance, and they are connected between the nodes node I and node k, and it is equal to the negative of the sum of all admittances connected directly between these two nodes. So let us say that we have two buses of bus 1 and bus 2. Y12 is the sum of all admittances connected between bus 1 and bus 2. The next point is that if we consider all linear bilateral system that form the power system, then the system remains the same whether current flows from bus 1 to 2 or from bus 2 to 1. That means it is independent of the direction of current. For that, we can say that the admittance do not change, and we can say that YIK is equal to YKI. Okay, so Y12 is same as Y21 and Y32 is same as Y23. Now we'll talk about the model. Now using the notation, we can find out we can write the model as Ji equal to sigma YIK into Vk, where I tends from 1 to n and the range of k is from 1 to n. Now what do we mean by this? J, this is how we write the admittance equation in a compact form. So J is a number of independent current sources, and it is equal to the sum of all products of admittance and the bus voltage. So this is written in a compact form like this, and also it can be written in the matrix form like J bus equal to Y bus into V bus. Now this is why we use J, because you can also use in this I that represent current, but here it is used J because the letter I is used for the impedance model and this J is used for the admittance model. So this formation is where the Y bus denotes the matrix of bus admittance and is known as bus admittance matrix. The dimension of Y bus is n cross n, where n is the number of buses. The total number of nodes should be m equal to n plus 1, including the ground reference node. Okay. So let us say that we have a 5 bus system. Then what should be the dimension of Y bus? It should be 5 cross 5, right? What should be the dimension of J bus? It should be 5 cross 1, and V bus, it should be 5 cross 1, and the total number of nodes would be 6, 5 plus 1, because we are including the ground node or the reference node. Okay. Now the Y bus, it's a symmetric matrix, okay, except where phase shifting transformers are involved. So if there are some phase shifting transformers inside this between two buses, that means these transformers are placed in order to rectify certain other faults in the system. Now when these transformers that changes the phase of the voltage, if those transformers are present, the Y bus will not be symmetric. But in the general case, that is the 99% of the time, the Y bus is a symmetric matrix. Okay, and Yik is 0 if there is nothing connected between buses I and K. Now this is why I have talked that we have used Y bus in place of Z bus, because Y bus, if nothing is connected between bus 1 and bus 2, Y bus can be easily written as 0 in the matrix. But if you use Z bus, then you have to write infinity. So that is the reason why this Y bus is utilized. Or you have to use Z bus, you have to change the matrix in order to accommodate all those lines that are not connected between bus I and bus K. Now the equation is written as V bus equal to Z bus into J bus. The Z bus is bus impedance matrix, and it is obtained from inverse of Y bus. Okay, and this is the Z bus. So the Z bus is written in this form. Now we talk about Z bus. Z bus is also symmetric if Y bus is symmetric. Now if you notice here, we are obtaining Z bus from Y bus. Okay, the diagonal element of Z bus is called the driving point impedance of the nodes. The Z bus need to not be obtained from inverting Y bus, but directly finding the Z bus would be difficult than finding the Y bus. Although it is not required, but you can get Z bus from inverting Y bus. Now why it is difficult to find out? Because if you remember, Y bus is obtained by this equation of node voltage analysis, right? And that is easier in the power system where we take the buses to be nodes. but Z bus should be obtained from the mesh analysis. And imagine the mesh analysis, the number of meshes would increase, which I have told you in the previous class. While Y bus is a sparse matrix, Z bus is a full matrix. Okay, so because we are developing Z bus from the Y bus, and in the Y bus where you have no connection between two buses, that Y is represented as zero connection, but in the Z bus such thing is not possible. Okay, so zero resistance means short circuit, so that is zero element in the matrix is not seen in Z bus. So that means that Y bus is called a sparse matrix because that matrix contains lot of zeros, but Z bus matrix is a full matrix. It has non-zero elements throughout. Now, which is easier? Y bus matrix would be easier to deal with because most of the elements are zeros. Let's say we have a 50-50 bus system. The Y bus would be 50 cross 50 and Z bus will be 50 cross 50. But if you can see, most of the elements in the 50 cross 50 matrix will be 0. Let's say only 10 of them or 50 of them, or let's say 100 of them would be non-zero, and rest 50 into 50, the rest of them will be zeros. But in case of Z bus, all of the elements would be non-zero. So that becomes easier for us to calculate, and even the calculators or the computers to calculate and do other manipulations. So again, we'll talk about the advantage of the admittance matrix. The bus admittance matrix is often used in solving load flow problem. I'm mistaking it as load flow. So it will be a load flow problem. It has gained a widespread application owing to its simplicity of data preparation and the ease with which the bus admittance matrix can be formed and modified for network changes, addition of line, and regulating transformers. So bus admittance matrix is it's helpful because in order to add or modify the matrix, it is easy than if you use a Z matrix. And the sparsity is one of the greatest advantage which I have told you. Since the Y matrix is called is a sparse matrix, that means most of the elements are zeros. It is much easier to calculate, and for in place of the computer memory, it takes a less amount of computer memory. Now we'll come to the topic of formulation or formation of Y bus by singular transformation. Now the matrix pair Y bus and Z bus form the network model of load flow studies. We know that the Y bus can be alternatively assembled by the use of singular transformation. Now this alternative approach is of great theoretical and practical significance, and therefore you should know this. Okay. Now before coming to this development of the Y bus by singular transformation, we need to first understand the simple theory of graph theory, simple concepts of graph theory. Now what is a graph? It is to describe the geometrical features of a network. It is replaced by a single line segment called the elements whose terminal are called the nodes. A linear graph depicts the geometrical interconnection of the elements of the network. A graph is connected if and only if there is a path between every pair of nodes. If each element of the connected graph is assigned a direction, it is called an oriented graph. Power networks are so structured that out of the m total nodes, one node normally described to be as 0 is always at ground potential, and remaining n equal to m minus 1 nodes are buses at which the source power is injected. Okay, so we are talking about before starting this formation of Y bus by singular transformation, we have to understand what is a graph. Now graph is nothing but we have a circuit. The circuit has different connection, one from one point or one junction. There are several other branches and all. So if we wanted to simplify and think about the connection itself, that is called the graph. It is a geometrical pattern. Okay, it is a, if we replace all the elements by the single line, that line segments which are called elements, they connect to each other as nodes. Okay, it is just a depiction of how these elements are connected. Now it is also said that a graph is, if you say a graph, it is a graph is a connected graph only if there is a path between every pair of node. Okay, so if you can find a path between every pair of node, we call that graph to be a connected graph. And if you assign a direction on the path, we call it as an oriented graph. The example of the graph is shown on the coming slide. See, this is an example of an oriented graph. So if you can see, there are how many nodes are there? There are actually 5 nodes, of which one node is called taken to be as the ground. So there are 5 minus 1, 4 nodes. Okay, so this is a graph, and this is called a primitive network. That means we are not considering here that where is the source, where is the load. We are only considering how the network is connected, where is the junction and where are the elements. Now in order to understand the primitive network, there are certain terminologies you should be aware of. The first is called the tree. A tree is a connected subgraph. It is a subgraph, that is a graph inside a graph, that contain all the nodes of the graph but have no closed path. That means it should be, a tree should be a subgraph inside the graph that is found by connecting all the nodes of the graph, but there should not be any closed path. There is no should be closed loop. Now the branches are elements in the elements of the tree. Okay, so when you have the when we have tree, then the tree has these branches. Now there is another concept called the links. Links are elements of the graph that are not included in the tree. They form a subgraph and not necessarily connected, and is called a co-tree. So remember these terms. So what we have, first of all, we have all the connection between the circuits. We call it as a graph. Then it has, and now you break the graph into 2 parts. One, these 2 parts are 2 subgraphs. That is the graph, the part of a bigger graph. Now these 2 subgraphs, one of them is called a tree and other is called a link. Now what is tree? Tree is the subgraph that connects all the nodes of the graph, but they do not have any closed loop. The tree has branches, that is the elements. Okay, now the number of branches should be equal to the number of buses or the number of non-zero buses. Okay, so B, the branch B equal to m minus 1 and is equal to small n. Now links. Now what are the links? Links is also another subgraph, the other part of the subgraph, where it contains all those elements that are left with. So from a graph you take out the tree, then what you will be having left would be the links. So just go through this graph and I will show you the links and the tree. So this is on the left hand side you see a tree, and the right hand side is called you find a co-tree. Now you can see that tree is connected with the branches of the tree has connected all the nodes. So there are 4 nodes plus 1, 5 nodes. All nodes are connected, but there is no closed path. Now you have this co-tree that is being formed. Okay, so these co-tree and this link together forms the graph. Now the concept is, if a link is added to a tree, a corresponding graph contains one closed path called a loop. So what happens that if we include one element of the co-tree and connect to the tree, we will have one closed path. For example, you have the branch 1, 0 and 3, 0, or branch number 1 and branch number 3 on the left hand side. These two branches are connected to the nodes 1 and 3, which is connected to 0, right? Now if you add the co-tree branch element, the link 9, you will have a closed loop of the loop that will flow from 0, 1, 3 and back to 0. Okay, thus a graph has many loops as the number of links. That means you can say the number of links tells you the number of loops that is in the graph, and incidentally the number of links determine the number of mesh equations you will find out, right? Since the number of loops determine the number of mesh equations, and since the number of link determine the number of loops, so number of links determine number of mesh equations. Okay, the next part of the primitive network is that, let's say we have the elements of the primitive network either in the impedance format or in the admittance format. So in the impedance format, let's say the primitive network contains a source and the source impedance, and for the admittance format you will have a current source with a source admittance in parallel to the current source. Now why do you require this? Like, for example, let's say all the elements in the graph contains this kind of elements which has both source and load in different format, either in the impedance form or in the admittance form. Now remember from your previous in the circuit theory classes, in impedance form and the admittance form are interchangeable. So either you have the elements of the graph in the impedance form or in the admittance form. But whatever is the case, let's say the two terminals is ER and ES. The voltage between these two will be nothing but ER minus ES. Okay, and these equations are valid, that VRS plus ERS, small ERS, equal to small ZRS, small IRS. It is nothing but the voltage drop, and similarly the current equation, that IRS plus JRS equal to YRS VRS. So you have these elements that are and these are the equation that we find from them. A set of unconnected elements is defined as this primitive network. So these networks, the small network of impedance, the source and this load or the resistance, the current source and the admittance, these are primitive networks that represent a part of the branch or part of the graph. Now the performance equation of the primitive network is given by this equation V plus capital E equal to Z into I, and in the admittance form is I plus J equal to Y equal to V. That means this capital V and capital E, capital Z and capital I all are in matrix format. Okay, so imagine these elements either in the impedance form or in the admittance form, whatever, you convert all of them to a particular single form, either impedance form or the admittance form, represent a circuit, okay, that is given by this graph, this graph. Okay, now if you solve the equation will be either in the admittance form or the impedance form. Of the format V equal to E plus Zi and I equal to J plus YV. Okay, so this is the end of this lecture. Just review this lecture, and we'll continue with the primitive network in the next class. Thank you.